And that sound means we are live on YouTube, Tackle Trading's Halftime Report, a daily stock market show where we go through everything involving the financial markets that you need to know to run your daily routine. We've got a full crew here today. We've got Matt, we've got Noah, we've got Frank, we've got Cody, we've got myself. None of us own a Tesla truck, though, so I guess that might be the news to start with.
None of us own a Tesla truck yet.
That's right. Oh, my. If you're first time here, by the way, click that subscribe button. Come and join us each and every day. We go live every market day that markets are open. And if you are a veteran of our community, pop something in the chat and give me a thumbs up, and let's get the word out there. Matt, how you doing today on a Friday?
I'm doing better than Elon. That's what I'm going to start with. I'm doing better than Elon Musk. I mean, I don't even know what to start with, to be honest.
Well, let's start with the announcement itself.
Okay, let's start with that.
Just the basics. What happened with Tesla yesterday, Noah? Because they had this big reveal party, right?
Let's call it Tesla's chart, because I think the truck was worse than the chart, actually.
Well, I don't know. You got to look at the chart because it gapped up here, and that's what I have ready. So let's take a look at that. Tesla gaps down here. Boom. Right into the moving average. But I'll tell you what, that reveal was a thing of beauty. Let me see if I can pop open my Twitter account here and I'll show some of the.
And I was looking for a picture here, Matt. Obviously, the price action, the market did not think very highly of this announcement by the truck. But what was worse, the design or the fact that the shatterproof window broke?
It's the design. That's far worse than the shattering. It's absolutely the design. I mean, my God, Elon, it was widely reported that, Blade Runner kind of, inspired the design and whatnot. But I think he went far worse than Blade Runner. I think he went straight Mad Max, like literally straight up Mad Max. And it's like I said to Cody, I don't know a self-respecting American who loves trucks that would buy that truck. I just don't understand it.
Hey, I was told my Texas was showing yesterday when I said there's no way he's going to make a good-looking electric truck.
No, that's not what you were talking about.
I was saying that no one's going to buy it, and you know what? No one's going to buy it.
Listen, I'll tell you, I don't think Ford or GM are worrying today. In fact, I think Ford and GM are popping champagne corks today, just being like, Elon, what are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? Maybe it finds a niche, right, within the consumer society. Maybe it finds a niche with the fanboys, but I don't see that truck being driven on the streets of Salt Lake City. I can tell you that.
You're being so generous.
Matt, if we drove
maybe a truck, it finds a niche of what, like 3 people, one of which is Elon.
Maybe people that work at Tesla that Elon forces to buy the truck. Maybe that's the niche. I don't know outside of what that is, but I mean, it was laughable, guys. It was absolutely laughable, that entire scene about them trying to throw the brick at the
oh my God.
And then it shatters and Elon doubles down. It's like, let's do it again.
Why would you throw the second brick?
Whoa.
Oh, Elon.
I don't know if you're out there and you've not seen an image of this, you got to Google it. You got to take a look at what this truck looks like. I don't know if you can find one of those.
Oh, I found one.
I put a
there
picture.
you go, right there.
There's the truck.
or look up Tesla window GIF. And it'll show the guy throwing the ball at the window.
I think this glass is unbreakable.
I think it was like a steel metal ball too that they threw at it. It was just like, oh, guys, seriously.
No, yeah. Hey, go to my Twitter feed real quick. No, you'll see the truck. It's on my Twitter feed. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing to watch that show. I mean, just an absolute failure after failure. And obviously, the market responded the way it's going to do when Elon's unveiled other vehicles in his catalog. The market's responded bullish, and obviously the market doesn't like what they're looking at. It was an absolutely atrocious unveiling of a new vehicle.
Stock was starting to look good from a technical perspective. I haven't touched it in a long time because I'm just not much of a believer here. But man,
I'll tell you what, Matt nailed that. Twitter engineers celebrating it there. Oh, it's not playing; it won't play, but it's there.
Oh my. Oh my. Well, I could literally just laugh at this Tesla thing all day long, but we do got to talk about the markets. Markets aren't doing much here today, guys. Let's go to the S&P 500, take a look at the chart. ES contract to start here. Heading into a Friday, we were very bullish on the broad market. I don't think that's going to change. We're still above trend lines, moving averages, all that kind of stuff. Where that exact ranking comes in over the weekend, Matt, we'll settle that tonight in our scouting report meeting as coaches. Matt, give me your take on the S&P. This whole week has kind of been a snooze fest, quite frankly. You know, mostly doji days, not a lot going on. Here we are finishing earnings season, heading into Thanksgiving week. What's your read on the stock market?
Same thing it's been all week. I mean, Tim, the market did what kind of we expected it to do this week. There wasn't a lot of earnings reports. We're on the back end of earnings. Earnings season is now over, you know, with the retail sector kind of finishing up this week. Excuse me. Economically, we just didn't have a lot of economic reports this week to really kind of drive the marketplace. And, you know, today was the first day that we really had some economic reports, and consumer confidence, PMI numbers came in okay in the US. There's some mixed results with the PMI numbers coming out of the Eurozone. So a little mixed economic data today and on the overnight action. And we're just kind of seeing a doji fest. You know, the news, the amazing thing is the news is there's been negative trade news all week long. Like literally all week long. And this market has not sold negative news in any capacity. It's rip and roared on any positive hint of a trade deal, and it hasn't sold on any negative trade news. And just today, you know, President Xi Jinping gives a you know, speech over there in China, and he talks about how he wants to do a trade deal, but they're not going to sign a bad trade deal, and they're going to push back and fight back against some of the other ones. And Trump comes out today and says, well, you know, we may or may not sign a trade deal. And so it's just a matter of this market is not pricing in negative news. It's just not. And if there's no trade deal, and if we start seeing this, you know, continue to play out over the holiday season, I think this rip and roar that we've seen in the market can be given back very, very quickly.
You know, last week, Matt, we had the SPY, the ETF that tracks the whole market, the S&P here, at the 15-yard marker, you know, in our newsletter is when we're ranking that's very bullish. I mean, that's in a +2 category. We rarely go up that high in terms of the whole market. We're still above the 9 moving average. We're still in a very parabolic kind of bullish trend here. Are we going to maintain that ranking, do you think? I mean, what's your read on it?
My read's very simple. I think it's a fine ranking, to be honest with you, Tim. I mean, like I said, I don't think the market itself is pricing in, you know, the negativity of the trade war, and I don't think it's pricing in some of the negativity from an economic perspective. But at the end of the day, we all know you got to trade with your eyes, not your head and not your heart. You got to trade with your eyes. And when you're looking at this marketplace, and if the market, you know, maintains above 3,100, which was an old resistance zone from a week and a half ago, and, you know, it's tested those levels between 3090 and 3,100 multiple times this week, and it's held that. So in the face of negativity, this market is still euphoric, and it still wants to buy. So to me, you know, looking at that, I might downgrade it to the 20-yard marker, just a little 5-point downgrade. But again, I mean, as long as you stay above 3,100 at this point, you got to stay, the market's going to be strong.
You know, Frank, one of the industries that's moving today is the banking sector. Noah, give me KRE real quickly, if you will. And it's not just finances at large, but it's actually just banks. They're starting to pop here. We had old resistance, new support kind of developing in here. There's going to be some companies that trigger here in this space. Frank, what have you seen from this area, these industry stocks?
I found probably, and I'm not lying, probably close to 20 pullbacks that look very similar to KRE there in the regional banks and some of the bigger banks too, but more of the regionals. So many that I was like, I don't want to go through all of these. I think the ETF makes a lot of sense. I did find one that was kind of interesting, and that was WAL. That was one of the, you know, that's what a lot of them are looking like. And so if you don't like WAL, there's lots of options. So within this space, I saw a lot kind of flaggy type of patterns. Good movement here today. Got to like where it's at. But like you said, it's really in the banks more so than the broad financial sector as a whole.
When I look at the heat map, that area just kind of popped out to me. Obviously, there's also some healthcare stocks moving. There's some consumer stocks moving, but it's kind of a mixed market here today. Mostly slightly bullish. The broad indexes, they all look the same. The S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow, they're very, very similar. The Russell's still in that range. Let's talk about the dollar and talk about that PMI number that came out, Matt. I will say that was not a bad number from the headline number. I don't know, exactly what we expected from the PMI number, but it is growth. It's above the 50 number. It came in above expectations. The dollar is now strengthening in general here off this pivot. What was your read on that PMI? Good news, probably economically, and then also this dollar chart. Let's start with Matt, then Noah.
Well, any reading above 50 on a PMI reading is expansion. Any reading underneath a 50 reading on the PMI is contraction. And so everything's kind of relative against that 50 mark. And that's what you'll see in the financial world when new traders come into here. They always based everything at zero. Like if they're if the retirement account is going up 6-7%, they're like, oh, that's great, but the market's up 25% year to date. And you don't judge, your retirement account based on zero. You judge it based on what the market does. You always want to perform kind of in the direction of the marketplace. If the market goes up 25%, your expectation is 25. And that's kind of how economic reports kind of work as well, where you don't base everything at zero. You base everything based on what is a kind of a normal market response. And that's when you're reading the PMI numbers, that's right at 50. So with the flash manufacturing PMI coming in today at 52.2 versus the expectation of 51.5, you can say that the market is showing a little bit of resiliency in the face of international, growth concerns, and the PMI numbers are expanding. Now, you're not expanding. You can throw a negative versus a positive based on what the numbers are, because the numbers coming in at 52.2, that's not a great reading. That's not massive expansion. That's just, slight expansion. But based on what the expectation was coming in at 51.5, you can say that's a good number. But outside the U.S., the U.S. manufacturing, it really kind of tells a story when you're looking at it from a year-to-date perspective. If you'll remember, coming into June, July, and August, we were seeing negative numbers for the first time in many years from the U.S. PMI numbers. And so to see it kind of expand above 50 coming into, 3 months later, you got to see that as a positive. And when you're looking at the European PMI numbers, which have a big impact on global growth and whatnot, German PMI numbers came in at 43.8. And that's a really, really negative number when you're looking at the macro scene. But when you're looking at the kind of just the impact over the last few months, it was 42.1 last month. It was supposed to be 42.9 this month. It came in at 43.8. So you can throw some cold water, because it is a negative number at 43.8. But based on what we saw last month, based on what we saw with the expectation, that was still better than what we saw. And so we had a mixed bag from a PMI numbers on the overnight in the Eurozone, but not in the US. In the US, you definitely had a positive reading on the PMI numbers. And currencies usually respond in the direction of the positive versus the negative impact. So when you're looking at the United States dollar, for example, all things being relatively equal, the dollar should appreciate on good economic reports, and it should depreciate on negative economic reports. And so when you're looking at the PMI numbers at 8:45, they came out, right about 2 hours ago now. So 2 hours ago they came out, and what did we see? We saw the dollar break out of that intraday resistance level at 98. You show price appreciation. Now you're up 20 pips on top of that, a little bit overextended. That's why economic reports are important, because they have a tendency to really drive the currency, not so much the stock market, ladies and gentlemen, but they have a tendency to drive the currency. And that's what a news-based trade is all about. And, with the PMI numbers this morning on the dollar, given the fact that we're hitting its head on that 98 number, a real good response from the dollar concerning the economic report, forming a little bit of a high base with a new trigger above 98.25 potentially.
Yeah. And, I got to tell you, I missed this trade. I did not take it. We talked about it. It was obviously a good setup that I did not pull the trigger on. Cody, you're my Forex kid. Did you get that euro dollar cross pair play into the downside? Because it is moving.
That
nicely.
I did.
Yeah.
I did catch that. I'm as happy as a pig in mud. And that's not the way I'd like to say that.
Are you as happy as Elon on a product release?
Oh no!
No, that's bad. Look how pretty that setup is on the intraday chart. I mean, that is about as good looking as a setup you have going into a report. And you got kind of a cup and handle ascending triangle there with the after hours market stuff. That just set up so pretty.
News-based trades are really interesting ways to trade the Forex market. There's no question about it. In fact, Matt, that's a strategy that's an advanced strategy for Forex traders. Knowing that an event was going to happen, you could come in and prepare for that. And then currency markets didn't make a move here this morning. So there were opportunities.
And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes some of these less than followed reports like the PMI numbers, especially service and manufacturing PMI numbers, consumer confidence numbers, sometimes these can be a lot better trading environment than some of your major economic reports like the unemployment report or Fed monetary policy, because a lot of times when you get those widely followed reports, CPI, unemployment, Fed, these types of reports have a tendency to really create a tremendous amount of volatility, both on the upside and the downside. And I see a ton of whipsaw versus what we saw today. We just saw a clean break, a break on the dollar, and started to run in a normal environment. They can be a little bit better of a trading environment because they're lessly followed than some of the other reports.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Let's go through the commodities real quick. There's some stocks I want to talk about, Uber, Disney, those types. And I do want to get into what Ray Dalio did, Matt, here in just a few minutes, talk about the headline there, or the false headline as it's presumed, but we'll take a look at it. Crude oil hesitating here in the middle. We've been talking about it all week. Had a couple of really nice candlesticks running in above that 57.5 mark, but red candle heading into the weekend. Noah, give me a read on that chart. I'm neutral. I've been neutral.
Pretty neutral context. It got up above the 200 period moving average yesterday. Like you said, a couple big green candles coming in. And then, just looking at the chart, there's some identifiable resistance zones right there at that same price zone. So you can actually see back here in the past where it hit back in, July, it hit again in September, same price zone. And so we're seeing a little resistance there. Not surprising.
Yeah. Let's move on to natural gas. And this is one, Matt, that I've been trading much more recently. And quite frankly, I got to like this price action here today. Green candles coming off of that pivot point. Is this a flag breakout? Is this triggerable, or would we wait for more if you're going to play this directional?
It's like I said yesterday, a trigger above 2.6 is absolutely legit. So, I maintain my stance that I said yesterday. I maintain my stance that I've said all week long.
Yeah. If you look at that, I like that intraday trend line that was on the downside that is now broken back up. 2.6 was a trigger here this morning. I've got bull puts on this for quite some time. Frank, what's your read on natural gas? Obviously, weather dependent, seasonal, all that kind of stuff. Do you like the trend developing here?
I do. I like where it's at. I have a rule that no late week new trades on natty gas because of its gappy nature. If I were in it, I'd be very satisfied. If I were looking for something new, I'd want Sunday confirmation. But that's just a personal rule. Those gaps drive me crazy, and they can be big.
That's a good rule coming into Friday, though, in the futures market.
Yeah. And natty gas seems even more crazy than the rest to me. Maybe it's not, maybe it's just my experiences with it. I don't know, but it's definitely got its own rule for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Tim, you said you like the fact that it breaks out of that intraday trend line. No, if you'll drop that down into a 1 hour chart and try to connect the resistance pivots.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go there. Boom. All right. So let's grab the old trend line drawn tool. I'm not going to freehand it for you because you guys always make fun of me when I try to freehand it.
You have the best lines.
There you go. There. That's fantastic.
I don't. I hate that trend line. I hate that trend line. I wanted the squiggly trend line.
All right. There you go. Hey, that is a breakout though. That is a downward channel breakout. So
yeah,
nailed it. Yeah.
Well, you got to call it confirmation above 2.6. You have to call it, whether it works out or not. That's a different discussion.
It is confirmation.
Yeah, that's a clean line in the sand. That's one of the things I'm always looking for, regardless of what I'm trading. I want a really clear technical trigger, and that one has both the trend line and a clean support resistance zone. Good trigger.
The only debate I've been having all week for myself, because I trade this one a lot, it's a very important product for me right now because I've brought it back into the rotation for my cash flow, is do I add to the position? I've not added to the position. I've been holding that position, which is a bull put with a lot of cushion, zone defense, Matt, I like the analogy you use many times. Does this confirmation, and Frank, let's say on a Monday, you get Sunday confirmation, all that, do you think you could add to something here, Matt, in terms of that, or would you just maintain with where you had if you were coming into this.
It
with a
depends
bull
on what your position size rules are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a question you can ask without talking about what's your standard position size in a credit trade and how many contracts did you take upon the initial trade. So if your standard, say your standard is you do 6 contracts and you only took 2 contracts off the 2-5 bounce, and you decided to add another 2 contracts after the 2-6 confirmation, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're fully loaded already, then no, I wouldn't add to the position. So it just depends on what your personal trading plan is. That's an impossible question to answer without understanding your trading plan and your position sizing rules.
Yeah, I came in with about half of what I normally do when I took that first trade. So I'm
I'd probably
still
wait for confirmation on Monday.
Still waiting.
What
Move on.
about-
I come back
Tim?
to what Frank said. That chasing on a Friday afternoon, 2 hours before the market closes or 3 hours before the market closes, and you have, rock solid 48 hours before the futures market opens up. And we all know so many things, so many variables exist on the weekend. I agree with Frank. Wait till you see confirmation over the weekend.
Not just a weekend. We're heading into a holiday week next week, and it's usually a pretty low volume week. As you head into, and then Thanksgiving, you get a little extra theta time decay and stuff. But
You
I
mean
don't
theta giving.
theta giving's coming, but it's always a pretty quiet week because it's a lot of travel. People are getting out, markets get quiet, so it'll be interesting next week too.
I understand the philosophy and I understand why we have those catchphrases, but you don't actually get extra theta over the holiday. The
Well, it's the
market
same
prices the
amount.
math incorrectly.
It's the same
Don't
amount,
rain
but
on
if
our
they-
parade.
the
pet
market's
peeve of mine.
closed.
Tim,
The market's
you
closed.
shut down our Elon conversation. You're
Hold
shutting
on,
down us
hold
saying
on.
theta
I'm going to
giving.
push back.
What?
I'm going to push back against Tim because Tim tried to do his little thing there that he likes to do. Yeah, you're right, Tim. The market does price it in, but the market's not open to have the volatility kind of whipsaw you out of the equation. So I get your point, but I'm still going to take the theta when the market's not open.
Oh, I'm positive theta. I'm looking for cash flow as well, but just from a math perspective, you don't get the theta from Thanksgiving.
So you don't believe in theta clause either?
I don't. Like my wife asked me today. That's funny you bring that up.
So you're saying it has absolutely no impact?
Not on that day, no. And there's no extra theta. You only get theta when the markets are open. Same thing with the weekends. You don't
But
get
the
extra
market's
theta.
not open.
That's
You don't have to deal with the volatility. There's still benefits to it.
I like cash flow this time of year for that reason as well. I'm with you. Let's move on to
So you
metals
do.
here.
So wait a second. Is that your way of saying I agree, but I don't agree, and so I don't want to talk about it any longer?
Oh no, there's just no value out of trying to prove the point.
Yeah, he literally threw a disagreement pin into 4 of us, and then once we all attacked back, he's like, no,
And then
no,
he doesn't. And then he doesn't want to actually have the conversation.
Theta measures days when the markets are open. That's what you get from theta. You don't get theta on Saturday. If you have 100 theta, you don't get $100 on Saturday and Sunday. You only get theta when the markets are open and time decay is actually working, correct?
I don't know if that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't necessarily agree with that, but
No.
your certainty does.
We're waiting
give
for
me
you to
pause.
go down that rabbit hole a little bit more, though.
That's my belief. That's what I know about the Black-Scholes model.
So you're
and the
telling
math.
me. So you're telling me there has absolutely no benefit to a theta trader when the market's not open.
You're not getting the time.
We're going to have
decay.
to disagree with that one.
Markets are efficient. They're pricing it in. That's all I'm saying.
So again, I want to get you on the record. There's no benefit to theta when the market's closed.
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's
Well,
Let's
then,
leave it at that.
well, Tim, if it goes off of just days, it still counts down days till expiration, to where even when the weekend goes by, it may close on Friday with the model priced in perfectly, but then when it opens on Monday and it takes away those 2 days and has to recalculate the formula based on the days till expiration, it's just lost 2 days in that formula.
If I have a contract expiring in a week from Friday, in a week from Friday after Thanksgiving, yeah, I'm going to take the benefit of the market being closed for 3.5 of those days.
Well, I think the benefit comes from the volatility coming out, right? We're getting into a math fight. We haven't had a good math fight in a long time. But I think that when you have the over the weekend, Cody, it's not theta that's impacting that trade. It's the volatility of losing 2 days out of the risk.
Well, here's what the Options Industry Council says. Pricing models take into account weekends. So options will tend to decay 7 days
There you
over the
go,
course
Tim.
of the 5 trading days.
I was going
All
to
right,
say,
I'll
that was
eat
a
crow.
bad hill.
I'll eat.
But you made me doubt myself.
And
No,
the
it-
truth
no,
shall
it don't
set
confuse-
you free.
No, don't confuse me with the facts. I don't.
He's not going to let the facts get in the way of his narrative.
That's why he wanted to get off that hill real quick. Real quick.
Oh, I feel like I'm playing
See,
Madden.
Tim knew it. Tim does this. He'll say things just because they think it's funny in his head. And he's like, oh, shit. Oh, no, that was not a good one. I think he nailed on that one.
I don't think that's any different than the rest of us, though.
Somebody help me, tap me out of this, Frank. I'm being
you just
torn down.
In the future, just answer not to my recollection, Tim. That works a lot better.
Oh, it's a trap. I like that, James. Very good. Gold and silver pivoting down here. Same analysis. I'm not seeing anything different in the chart. I know platinum has a real aggressive red candle here. I'm not a platinum trader. Obviously, I'm a palladium nut lately, but platinum, Matt, grabbed my attention. It's going to be a tough one to rank, in my opinion, because you had neutrality and now you've got a almost 3% down day. Give me a read on this one, Frank. I mean, that one's a tough chart for me coming into the 200, but intermediate downtrend. I'm probably leaning neutral to slightly bearish. What's your read, Frank?
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, if you look at the long-term trend line, just eyeballing it, long-term, we're still good. Intermediate / short-term, we've got lower highs and lower lows, like it or not, that's what we have. A lot of negative, momentums, obviously, in the very short term. Time frames completely bearish, taking out that little trend line that we've established over the last week and a half or so. Pick a side, I guess, and pick a time frame. And this is not a very trader-friendly chart. In my mind, why are we fighting with this? As traders?
I'm with you, Frankie, on that one. I mean, when you have a tough chart to trade and if it takes you longer than 2 seconds to get a read on the chart, move to the next chart.
Find the easy charts. I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely.
Gold kind of fading down here. Let's take a quick peek at this one. Noah, give me a read on gold. Obviously, kind of casual downtrend. I've maintained neutrality. I would not take a short on gold. Frank, I think you and I were talking in the Friday, halftime report a week or two ago, and we were talking, and you said you might take a trade on the downside on gold. Let's get everybody's read on this one. Give me GC, if you will, Noah, if you're running those charts. Bring up that contract. Noah might be frozen. I think that's confirmation.
Frozen or really visible.
Well, Frozen is coming out today, and it's going to make a cool $1 billion for good old Disney. I'll go ahead and share my screen here, Tim.
Yeah,
By
Frank.
the way, Maddie, while you share that, I missed the shark. I do like the chart behind you, but I missed the shark.
For some reason, the shark just stopped showing up on my Zoom. I need to bring back the shark. The shark was amazing.
I did like the shark. I like the chart, though. It's a good look.
Yeah.
Okay. So here on, we were looking at gold, correct?
Gold. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Looking at gold here from a technical perspective, Tim, I don't think there's anything else to say other than what we said all week. Until we start seeing 1480 kind of reclaimed and then stepping stones above 1500, there's really nothing to see here on gold. You do have a major level of support at 1450 that is important to hold if you're looking to take any position in gold, though.
Frank, if you broke below 1450, would you short? I've kind of got a mindset here. I don't short gold. I mean, I would in a more clear downtrend, maybe in a longer term downtrend. But in this market, I like maintaining my position gold. Maybe I'm biased here. I'll admit that because I hold gold. Would you short below 1450, Frank?
I think you can. Maybe a better way to put it is I sure as heck wouldn't buy. I don't, much like you, once this gets into an established downtrend, fine, I'm all right with shorting gold. I'm not going to try to catch a reversal, but if you don't call the break of 1450 a sell signal, I don't know what you call a sell signal. And so
yeah, it has to be one.
It has to be one. It doesn't mean you have to sell it, right? It doesn't mean you have to take a trade, but it does mean that's a pretty good break. I mean, you could argue, and I think you have to respect the fact that we could have argued this was a bearish retracement, and at least as of yet, really no one's all that excited about it. Seems like everybody else is respecting that 1450 support zone as well.
Yeah.
That gives out. I do think it's wise. Whatever we're doing, I think it's wise to assume there's going to be some downward price movement, at least in the
Can
short
we all
term.
agree that the people that are looking to short gold would not touch it above 1450?
Correct.
I would think so.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same concept. So until 1450 is broken, I think we maintain some degree of neutrality on gold right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did do something, it'd be more credit spreads, bear call type than directional, unless I was thinking short term. Now, short term, you could be, that might be interesting.
Yeah, the problem with the credit spreads on the gold market, there's no volatility in the product. And so you hardly get any ROI.
You can find it in GC. You can't find it in GLC.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Got to talk Bitcoin here today, guys. It's down 22% this week. I mean, Matt, talk about an appropriate time for you to have that take. Quite frankly, it's just getting destroyed and below support. It's major support.
To be fair, I've had that take since June of 17. So
yeah, and it's really getting hit hard this week. Guys, I got to tell you, there's nothing good in that chart I see. Is there any thing saving grace at all, Matt? When you see volatility like this, just more confirmation that this product has too much risk?
Can we at least put to bed that Bitcoin's a safe haven? Can we at least do that here?
Is anybody still arguing that?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. They've been comparing Bitcoin to gold for years now. But is there any saving grace for Bitcoin? I don't know. I mean, Bitcoin can absolutely fly. I wouldn't be shocked if Bitcoin's at 10,000 in 3 weeks from now, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's at 3,000. So to me, I don't think you have an edge trading this instrument. It is just too news driven. It's too volatile. If you're looking at it purely from a technical type perspective, and you're looking at this, say, on a weekly chart to try to get a little bit more of a time frame analysis, I think you got to see this as a little bit of a head and shoulders type reversal pattern, and you're punching up against the neckline right now. You broke it earlier this week. You're sitting right now in the 50-day moving average on the weekly, a support level right there at about 7,000 as well that you dinged here today. And kind of like what was said in, walking up the stairs in a trend. Now you're starting to walk down the stairs in this trend. And if 7,000 is broken, it's look out below 6,000, 5,000, 4,000. So, I'm going to maintain my bearishness on Bitcoin. And, it's just a matter of, where it goes from now, but it's such a tough tradable instrument. It's a stay away from me on both sides of the ledger.
Yeah. I can see it as well. I mean, we're down 5 months in a row. And this is a long time coming, 6 years in. I have not sold my position yet. I am still evaluating it, Matt, but I'm right there.
I think, Tim, I honestly believe this. I think you're being stubborn with Bitcoin. And
I know I am.
If this was a stock, you would have dumped it
long time ago.
Off the rip and roar 5 months ago.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Here we are, range down around 7K and breaking below
when we have marital counseling with stocks, we need to do an intervention with Tim and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up on what do we do? Marriage counseling Thursday. That'll be Thanksgiving.
We do it on Thursdays. Yesterday,
maybe we'll do it on Wednesday this week. Many companies I do want to round up, and then we've got some questions every Friday, Matt. We always do our coaches mailbag, and we get some questions from our clubhouse or from the chat. If you're watching our show right now and you've got a question for the coaches, put it in the chat. We're going to answer a few of them here live as we go through the rest of our show. Uber, I don't know if you guys saw the news overnight, but Uber might lose its license in London. London's one of the biggest cities in the world, very, very important marketplace for any company, including a company like Uber, Matt. Not good news, bearish retracement here. What was your take on the news and your read on the chart, Matt?
My take on the news is Uber's going to have to be going through this for the next 10 years. This is not something that's going to be a one-off. We're going to start to see regulatory pressure being put on Uber from, countries and municipalities around the world, and it's going to put pressure on Uber. It doesn't mean Uber's got to go down, but this is something that's going to be in the headlines many, many times, in my opinion. So, this wasn't the first from a regulatory discussion. London was just the latest, and I think it's going to continue to happen. And I think London has some very legitimate concerns with Uber about, making sure background checks are going on, making sure they can track their drivers to, from an illegal activity perspective, and just make sure that the consumers of London are safe in Uber cars. So it's something that's going to be going on for many years to come, in my opinion. From a charting perspective, the only thing I don't love about this retracement is the rounding bottom at 25 to 26. I mean, and I guarantee you there will be multiple coaches that have Uber on the short list for us to discuss later today in the Scouting Report meeting. In fact, I'll probably put it on just so that we have that discussion, to be perfectly honest with you, because I do see a shorting opportunity here as Uber's coming into that $30 range. Frank and I have talked about this in meetings of the past about how $30 have played such a role in so many stocks over the course of the last year, Frankie. And so we're going to have a good discussion on Uber and whether it's a shorting opportunity. The rounding bottom does concern me a little bit. The pickup in volume we've seen it, go from 26 back up to 30 this week is concerning for the shorts as well. So it's going to be an interesting debate on Uber, but if I had to pick a side, I'd pick the short side.
I'm there with you. I think that it will be on the list, and I won't veto it. I mean, I could see why somebody would, but if it broke below that moving average and confirmation, Matt, that's shortable to me, in a downtrend here in line with the overall trend for the
It's just a matter of how you can prep that trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any retracement, whether it's bullish or bearish, any retracement, you can find a good return versus risk ratio.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that on breakouts, but on any retracement you can. It's just a matter of, is this better than some of our other picks? And that's stuff we have to break down in the scouting report meeting.
Yeah, that's why we have a lot of fun there on that Friday afternoon, getting those reports ready for our pro members out there at Tackle Trading. Disney is releasing Frozen 2. And Frank, are you going to go Frozen 2? Is that your jam?
I am their target audience, but I will probably miss out. But I'm sure I'll hear all about it.
Media release over the weekend, does it add risk to this trigger? I mean, because to me, 150.63, that pivot, whether it's that exact decimal or not.
Let me answer that question before you start going off on it. They're going to sell over $1 billion worth of tickets for Frozen 2.
Mm-hmm.
It will be their 7th release this year alone that sold over $1 billion, guys. Think about that. That's a record.
Crazy.
Disney so far, before Frozen is released, mind you, 5 days before Thanksgiving, and they're going to sell a ton over Thanksgiving. Over $8 billion in tickets sold, which is a record for Disney year to date. And we're still in mid-November without Thanksgiving and without Star Wars coming in December, which Star Wars is going to sell rock solid. Guys, Disney's going to sell over $10 billion in tickets, well over $10 billion in tickets just this year alone. So is there risk to Disney? Yeah, there's risk to everything, but I'll take Disney.
Yeah, I still like it. I would buy it above 150, and whether that's 150.63 or an intraday trigger, I'm not buying it here on a Friday afternoon. I'm probably looking at Monday, Tuesday, and seeing the chart and the price action.
Disney will be on the scouting report. I can guarantee you that.
Yep. Yeah. Frank, high base here looking strong. I mean, it's been a juggernaut. There's no question.
I love it. And it's coming off of the old breakout point too. So we had the break consolidation break is one of my favorite patterns. So yeah, it'll be on the list.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you there will be somebody that says, and probably 10 of the bird dogs have tackled, that says we don't care about 150.63.
Mm-hmm.
The trigger is going to be above 150.
150. Yeah. Schwab and Ameritrade moving forward with that deal seems like positive traction, even in a couple of days. Probably those news releases were planned, and it seems like, Matt, it's going to happen. At least that's the assumption from the marketplace right now. Schwab, probably the beneficiary here. There's no doubt about it. Gap out. Is this going to be on a bullish watch list? Do you have any interest in this company?
It obviously needs to be on a bullish watch list, Tim. Would it be a scouting report pick? Absolutely not. It'll get vetoed by everybody just because of the volatility. But one of the things that you are seeing off of the Schwab news, and guys, again, just let me reiterate this. We're talking about the two biggest brokerages in the country here, TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab. And they're merging together to create a mega company from a brokerage perspective. And so, I mean, absolutely fascinating news. And, I can't remember who put it out there on Twitter, but I'm going to steal it anyways. So, they said, it was so funny. They said, okay, a month ago, Charles Schwab tries to buy TD Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade says no. Charles Schwab then announces zero commissions on trade. TD Ameritrade says yes.
Yeah.
Right. Charles Schwab knew what they were doing. They went gangster on this type of merger. Absolutely gangster on this merger, forcing TD Ameritrade to come to, that's capitalism right there. I'll tell you that it is. They went gangster on it. You got to give them a lot of credit for that.
So are we to the point yet where brokers are going to give us like credit card points and mileage and things for placing trades? They're going to actually pay us to trade?
Honestly, no, I know you're kind of a little bit joking there, but I'm not.
No, I'm dead serious. This is something like I hope for. Like I could actually,
let me pay you to trade with us type thing. Right.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, I found your shark.
No,
Ooh,
it did find a
there
shark.
you
There's no, that's not the shark.
Ah, close enough.
That's not the shark.
They swim the wrong way.
One thing you're looking at here on Schwab is after the news came out this week, you saw the overnight action just up, 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 up. Look what's happening at this support level right there at about 47.50, guys. And so, is this tradable just to pick it up at 47.50? No. But if you break back up above 48.50 with a stop below 46.50, trying just to play some of that momentum, I can definitely understand that. That 47.50 over the last 2 days is showing a lot of strength as a support level.
Yeah,
Did you guys see what E-Trade did in response on on their chart?
I didn't.
So yeah, so they
dropped
and
like
the
9%,
news
right?
was there was no news, at least as far as I could find. It just was Schwab had good news, so E-Trade has to have bad news. They were down big yesterday.
That's a significant move.
When you're talking about forming that type of broker, I mean the E-Trades of the world, yeah. I mean that's a shot across the bow at it.
Yeah.
E-Trade needs to bring back that baby. That trading baby was an awesome commercial.
I don't think that's the answer to anybody's problem.
I don't think
It
so
might
either.
be the answer to Elon's problems.
A couple of companies finishing up earnings.
Talking about babies, that Disney again, Midas touch, did bring back Yoda, guys.
They're gonna sell Yoda toys.
Mandalorian on Disney Plus.
Baby
They might
Yoda.
sell $1 billion worth of Baby Yoda t-shirts.
Baby Yoda is
People
going to be a
were-
hot seller.
People
Baby
were mad
Yoda
that they
is
couldn't buy
fantastic.
it.
I don't know
I'm
anything
going to buy
about
a
this.
Baby Yoda stuffed animal. I'm just tell you that right now. In fact, Baby Yoda might become the what is it? What is it? I'm thinking the word.
Mascot?
The mascot. Thank you, Cody. Baby Yoda might be the tackle trading mascot.
Do you think Baby Yoda could be our natural hedge if we're long Disney?
Wait, is
Could
this real
Baby
Yoda?
be the Teletubbies of the put options? Maybe.
I'm reading here that this Baby Yoda is Yoda's baby. Is that right?
Is it? If you,
No.
but if you
They're
get,
calling it Baby Yoda.
but if you get Baby Yoda wet after midnight, does it turn into a gremlin?
I did think about Gremlins when I saw Baby
Good call on that.
Yeah.
A couple rapid fire stocks here, Matt. Nordstrom's up 8%. We broke that earnings down fundamentals on these retail stocks through the week. Good report out of Nordstrom's. Breakout of 38, in my opinion, could be tradable there. I don't know if I will take that trade. I'm very concerned about retail still, but it was a good report. Now it's on the upside here, Matt. What's your read?
I'd veto that in less than 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Darn it. I've got one already vetoed.
Yeah.
This is one that what we really want is it to dance in this range and be having this conversation next week, right?
Exactly.
If we're hanging and knocking on the door of resistance like this next week, I think we all love the breakout. Breakout Monday, some people will, and Matt won't.
No, I'd veto that in a heartbeat.
Public Storage, PSTG, down 21% on their earnings. And this is pretty much the last quarter of Q3 of any note. I know there's a few other stragglers that keep coming down, but we're almost all the way reported for S&P 500 companies. Matt, this was an awful report, gapping 21%. This is just no touch for me for quite some time, probably.
Oh yeah, I don't trade this story. Don't trade this stock. Don't track this stock. I mean, the gap is very concerning. It's coming into a $16, fairly important support zone from a technical perspective. But again, I don't trade or track this stuff.
Two quick ones, maybe three. Stone, STNE. We've had this on the bull list many times this year, and a company that I like, actually showing a lot of strength post earnings. This is that Brazilian credit card company that is kind of a hot stock in terms of a newer company. Frank, that's a breakout, yes?
Absolutely. And looking pretty. A couple more hours to go, but looking pretty.
Matt, one of your favorites, U.S. Steel, having a nice day this morning when I was looking at it, up about 5% here, and actually a nice little rotation, rounding bottom, trigger above 14 would be an interesting technical signal. Matt, U.S. Steel here, what's your read?
U.S. Steel has a very, very volatile personality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can absolutely fly both up and down. And if you're looking to add something to the portfolio from a commodity perspective, something you could do covered calls on, I think you could do far worse than finding something that's reversing with the potential break of 14.
Yeah. Interesting chart here for me.
Hey, Tim, will you compare them really quick to STLD, to Steel
Sure,
Dynamics, just since
yeah.
we're talking steel?
By the way, very quickly, Tim, I did call that a buy at $10.
Yep, you
On the
did.
double bottom.
Yep, you did. Steel Dynamics, Nucor, a lot of those steel companies come to mind.
What's
STLD is
Steel
always
Dynamics symbol?
STLD.
Nucor.
Neutral, kind of stuck in neutral range.
stuck a little
What was
bit.
it, Frankie?
STLD.
Steel Dynamics.
Yep.
Looking at a potential breakout there as well.
Yeah,
That's
there's
breakout
clear.
at 33 is legit. 32 and a half, 33.
I agree with that. The cannabis stocks are getting destroyed. CGC, real quick, Matt or Tilray, any of them, they're getting beat up. That rally.
Well, the only question is, where's the trigger here on the short side? Because that was bearish retracement.
Bear retracement now trigger. You could argue it's confirming now in that regard. Intraday, if you're looking for a new trigger, none of them are shortable. It's the hard thing. You got to play the put option. So you got to make sure you've got liquidity. But every one of these companies in this space that are of liquid nature, that have options, they all look the same. I'm sure a lot of these are going to be.
Kronos looks the worst. I mean, and they're all bad, but Kronos looks like the most opportunity on the downside
That's
here.
the one that I've got in my list as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The volume on the uptick is a little concerning, but yeah, this looks shortable to me.
Cody, let's do a couple questions.
Can
Mailbag.
I give one to Noah
Hold on,
before we go
hold on.
mailbag?
Yeah,
Yep.
I got.
I was so sad that Noah left because I found this just for him.
He's here.
And
I'm
I know
back,
he
I
is.
know.
I know you're back. I was waiting. It's ZTS, Zebra Tom Sally. And I know what Noah likes.
Oh,
That's a kiss goodbye.
that's a kiss of death right there.
Look at that. The volume diminishing on that rally. That belongs in a
Oh,
textbook.
that is picture
Correct.
perfect. See, that's why we have bird dogs like Frankie. Look
Mhm.
at that. Look at Frankie, breakout king, finding the best retracement of the bunch.
So
That's
if
nice.
I put that in the report list right now, can I get credit for it?
I think
Yes.
Frank's already got it in there.
I
You
think
can
Frank's
just change
already
my
got it.
name. You can change my name. I gift that one to you, sir.
And Matty, you had a couple you want to look at?
Well, not a couple, but I do want to talk about Ray Dalio's.
Oh, that's right.
The headline, and this is how headlines can be so misleading. I was on CNBC earlier today and just doing my normal type of routine, and the headline on CNBC read, Ray Dalio, I'll give the headline. Ray Dalio, he runs the biggest hedge fund in the world. It's where I think one of them is about $150 billion in assets under management. And he said, and the headline read is this, and I want to get you guys' take on this, okay?
Mhm.
World's biggest hedge fund bets $1 billion on big market sell-off. What's your initial reaction?
Well, he runs $100 billion
Yeah.
hedge fund, right?
Well, actually, it's $150 billion. So it's
So-
like less than, it's like 0.75% position size.
So he needs another billion probably in put options to get covered. is my
Yeah.
first reaction.
So the headline should have been Ray Dalio buys insurance.
That's just fake news.
Well,
Ray,
I know
Ray,
that's
Ray
a,
Dalio
Like
hedges
literally,
portfolio.
that was my first thought was Ray Dalio buys car insurance.
yeah.
Like literally.
Ray Dalio
was my,
protects the money of his investors.
Ray Dalio buys
is
life insurance.
That's
Ray
a
Dalio buys a warranty on a headset. Ray
Right.
Dalio buys,
Which, by the way, I
insurance
like
on
how
an
you said
iPhone.
warranty on headset because that's the one thing Matt has never done.
You have.
I will
yeah.
never buy insurance on that.
Yeah.
I will never. I mean, come on. I mean, I get the headline, bet against the market. He's not betting against the market. He's hedging his long-term investments by buying put options coming into a season where the market's at an all-time high. It's been rip-roaring, and it's been not selling you any of the negative news that we've seen in the trade war. And we know exactly what happened last mid-November to the end of December. We saw a 20% correction in the market, and he's literally just hedging a small portion of his portfolio.
Matt, I love this. Hold on. I gotta read the headlines that came up in my Google feed when I just put in Ray Dalio news. The first headline was the one that you probably read on CNBC, Bloomberg. It was all over the place, right? World's largest hedge fund is reportedly betting on a sell-off. And then the next one says Ray Dalio's hedge fund has bet more than $1 billion that global stocks will tumble by March. But then 38 minutes ago on Barron's, it says Ray Dalio says he is not betting the markets will fall.
It's so stupid. I mean, I could not imagine somebody that has no education in the financial world reading those headlines and being like, oh my God, the market's going to die. Ray Dalio, the biggest hedge funds betting against the market. It's just, it's irresponsible journalism is what it is.
Yeah.
It is
It exactly is.
absolutely irresponsible journalism, and they're just trying to, it's clickbait nonsense. It's the same bullshit we see in the political field as well, and it's just for clickbait. CNBC, you are better than that. That headline is misleading at best and
Are they
unethical at
better
worst.
than that?
Honestly, and the worst part is that the number of young perma bears who do not understand trading at all are going to go throw money into the market right now off of that headline. And they're
Guys,
going to lose it.
he literally is position sizing less than 1% against portfolio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like honestly, guys, that's like saying, okay, a retirement account with $100,000 took a $1,000, bought one contract on the spiders. That's what that is. That's the headline. It is a normal mon pa buying one contract on the retirement account. It's absolutely irresponsible journalism.
Yeah, 100% it is. And I'm sure that journalist probably doesn't understand the products, man. I mean, that's where these news outlets, when we say go through the news, it's usually just to get the context of what's in the market, then get down to the data and the charts. But you got to learn how to do this stuff because you're right. That's just a negative delta
CNBC
position.
needs to be called out for that nonsense.
Somebody
It's
needs to.
irresponsible.
Yeah, you're better than that, CNBC. Somebody's got to understand
CNBC
that
is better
too.
than that. CNBC is a well-known, respected, organization from a journalist perspective. That is an unethical headline that is misleading.
Yeah. I have put options on the market, Matt, but I also have positive delta. So, I mean, I have Ray Dalio's kind of mindset right here. This is simple stuff
like
that any trader does.
Everybody on Wall Street doing the exact same thing.
Everybody does this stuff.
Lord Almighty, what's next? Ray Dalio bets against the world because he wrote call options against Apple. Like literally, it's ridiculous behavior.
Yeah. Fridays, we do a couple questions. We do it each and every Friday. Cody, give me one or two that you found that you thought were really good that we can have a quick discussion on.
Well, here's one. This one that I personally am drawn to because I struggled with this when I was a new trader. So this question, Michael Donnelly says, "Hey guys, quick question. I had paper trading Disney recently. I was wondering why my 13 December 145 call option was not automatically exercised when it hit the 145 mark. Does this have anything to do with intrinsic value?"
Has
Okay.
more to do with extrinsic value, doesn't it?
Yes. So, well, and that just reading that so there's a few different questions in there based on what I think he's asking is probability of touch, and when something goes in the money, are you exercised? What caused you to be exercised, and are you going to get assigned like right away? And this is, when I first, I was terrified of anything ever touching some going in the money when I first started, because I assumed like you'd immediately get exercised.
So in paper money, he was assigned stock on Disney.
No, he was not assigned. So here, let me drop the link to in the chat.
I think what happened, Tim, he wrote a call option against Disney, right?
Yeah.
So click.
Okay,
click
wrote a
the
call
link I
option
put in the
against
chat right now.
Disney. He wrote a call option against Disney. The call option went into money, and he didn't get his stock taken immediately. Is that kind of where we're going here?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's wondering why.
It's very simple. Okay, and he certainly could be exercised before expiration. But when you're looking at this, and I'm just going to go to the 28-day contract here on Disney here.
I see what he's doing.
And I'm going to drop this down into intrinsic versus extrinsic value. Okay. When you have more extrinsic value in the contract than you have intrinsic value in the contract's not going to be exercised because no trader is going to give up, $3.21 to get 16 cents in intrinsic value. And so they're going to wait for that intrinsic value to get bigger than the extrinsic value before the contract can be exercised. So when you see this 149 contract right now, it's slightly in the money by 19 cents, but there's still $3.20 of extrinsic value here.
Well,
nobody's going to give up that to make that 16. The same thing here. Nobody's going to give up the 268 to make the 116. Nobody's going to give up the 227 to make the 216. But the 146 contract absolutely could be exercised because now there's more intrinsic value than extrinsic value.
Yeah, early assignment happens, but it's relatively rare. And honestly, even if there was 10 cents of extrinsic value, it would be worth more to sell the option back to the market than it would be, or to buy the option back, than it would be to take the exercise and assignment on that.
Yeah. If they did exercise that option, Matt, you should send the market a thank you note. They're giving you free money.
They're giving you free money, but it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Just
And it's a common
It's not
thing.
going to happen when when extrinsic is greater than intrinsic. It's not going to happen.
Yep. Cody, you got another one?
Yes, kind of on the same topic. If you are assigned something, so this question is actually by Paul Butters. He says, if you have a naked put and the stock reaches your strike price and you are put the shares, will the broker immediately sign this as margin, or do you have to pay full price for the stock?
That's a good question. It depends on the type of account.
Depends on the account.
If you're in a cash account or a retirement account, you're going to need full cash for it. You're going to have a cash secured position there, obviously. But if you're in a margin account, they'll just assign you at margin. That's it. So it all depends on the kind of account you're.
It's really simple.
Yeah,
it's really simple. If it's a margin account, you have to put about 10% of the strike price to secure the position. Think about that as the collateral, right? That you have to put up to secure selling something you don't own. And then if it gets put to you, you need to come up with the other 40%.
I got a really interesting one from Michael here, especially heading into a weekend. Mickey from New York City. Mickey, I know you always watch Halftime Report. He says, hey, coaches, have you guys ever prepped and planned your trades for a Monday morning only to have late weekend news on the broad market make you change your mind and cancel your trades? How do you manage
we do that every week in the scouting report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because news absolutely can come in over the weekend, Frank. That's why a lot of times traders avoid new entries on Friday afternoon.
Exactly. That's why, all things being equal, I do. And so, yeah, I mean, we will change based off of new information and new technicals, right? And so one reason breakouts are easy is because, well, break today, tomorrow, next week, next month is a break, right? They don't change nearly as much as, say, retracement. A lot of times maybe we trace a little bit deeper, maybe we retrace too deep and violate some rules. So yeah, Mikey, absolutely. If you don't like what you see, there's no shame in changing your mind.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Traders are flip-floppers.
I could go and look up memes on Tesla for the next 2 hours, by the way. I still can't get over that, especially Elon when he's standing there next to that car with the shattered window.
Why would he stand next to it? Like, I would not have stood next to that car after it happened and you're sitting in the audience and you witnessed your engineer crush your car.
Well, what was he going to do?
Twice.
Run off the stage? I'm like, what?
I did.
No, he wasn't on the stage at that point, but why would you go back out and stand in front of it? I would have been like, no, you handle this, dude.
Elon doesn't care.
Elon does what Elon does.
Doesn't care.
Although I do believe in very beginning of the show, James pointed out, he's like, you know what? We can all go back and watch some of the Apple keynotes because they had a lot of bluffs too that they just completely screwed up. They'd be like, hey, look how
but they
easy
never
our
had a
tech
design
is.
of a truck that was like literally, I think Frank nailed it on its head. This is like, all those 1990s movies that were showing the 2020 era. And it's like Demolition Man, and they have all these funky, weird, crazy vehicles, and all of that. I mean, Elon went full Mad Max, full Demolition Man, full Blade Runner on us.
It looks like the PlayStation 1 early rendition of like a racing 3D game. Like the first time they get 3D capabilities.
It looks like it was made in Minecraft.
Right now so much. Like literally, Cody's old school analogies is the PlayStation 1, and we're talking Atari.
Oh, yeah.
Atari wasn't even 3D yet. All right, calm down. I was going for one of the earlier consoles that has 3D. That's why I picked PS1. So
Okay.
Video game console talk. We could definitely do that for some time, but we are going to wrap this show. We got to get prepared for our scouting report meeting, guys. We're going to be back on Monday. We'll be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week with the markets open. We'll be off on Thursday, and I'm not sure about Friday, Matt. I think market's got a half day on Friday, but we're going to be doing halftime report. Haven't decided yet, I don't think. But
I won't. I'll be sitting on a beach in Jamaica.
We'll put it in the daily email whether we're doing it or not on Friday next week, but be here on Monday morning, no doubt about it. If you are new to our channel, still haven't subscribed yet, just click that before you leave. If you watched the show and had a good time, enjoyed it, got some value, give me a thumbs up and a share. Get the word out there. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, if you're ever going to start a 15-day trial, head into the weekend's time to do it right now. Because on the weekend, we put out our scouting reports where we give you stock ideas and option ideas for both bullish and bearish that are prepared with stops, entries, and targets. There will be a link in the comments below. You can always get it right on our website as well, tackletrading.com. Great job, Matt. Great job, Frank. Always good to have you here on Fridays. Cody, great job. And Noah,
Always fun.
fantastic. Guys, we'll see you on Monday.
Have a good weekend, everybody.